Hi, I'm Liliana Partida, the nutritionist at the Center for New Medicine. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about what is the right diet when you are in a compromised situation like cancer. Well, honestly, that is $1 million question. If I knew the answers to that, the whole world would be healthy. But unfortunately, it is patient specific. What might work for someone might not work for another person. And there's so much information out there, whether it's Chris beats cancer, or the raw foods diet, or the alkaline diet, or the ketogenic diet, or any of the ones that have been popularized for the reduction of disease and cancer. So it gets very confusing to our patients. So when I talk to patients specifically, first thing I do is I say, what are you willing to do and what would bring you joy as far as your lifestyle and when it comes to eating? Because face it, food is a joyful experience, whether we're doing it with friends or even the sensation of what we would consider the reward pathways. And we don't want to take that joy away from patients. So first thing I do is I get to know them and what that they want to bring them joy, because that's what's going to heal them most. And even when they go to cook, putting joy into what they're doing instead of, oh, one more salad that's just like tasteless or this and that. That doesn't do well for a healing protocol. And so, of course, we all know that the cancer thrives off of glucose. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to teach our patient what has sugar in it and what is the amount that it turns into, whether it's a piece of fruit or a grain or a cookie. What is valuable, what's not valuable, what has high density nutrition that's going to support healing, or what is just going to be excess garbage. The body cannot do anything with it because it can't utilize the nutrients, so it stores it in a fat cell. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to educate our patients in the science of food so that you can make good choices. Now, we know that everything from the plant kingdom is sugar. We also know that it's highly alkaline. We also know that it has a high amount of fiber and enzymes. So these are all fabulous foods to treat and prevent cancer. So we say the more plant-based that you can be, the better off you're going to be for all the reasons that I just mentioned in terms of the alkalinity as well as the low sugar. So I think everybody would agree that a more plant-based diet is going to be more beneficial, especially for those cancers that are driven by hormones. And oftentimes you'll find that when you're looking at breast cancer, those are vegetarian type diet because of the insulin growth factor in meats, especially and cheeses and dairies. And so a lot of patients don't want to be vegetarians. They don't want to be a vegan. And I'm not going to force a patient to do that, but I'm going to say, how about we compromise? Then how about if we have animal protein maybe 2 to 3 times a week? And that way you can get your emotional fix and learn how to make meals that are super tasty and wonderful, but that are plant-based oriented, that are going to actually support your immune system. And we don't have our patients having a whole lot of red meat unless they're a blood type O, but then again, it's still not a whole lot because it's very dense and sits into the digestive system for a very long time. And if we don't have the enzymes, it can putrefy and create more toxin burden overload. We also say when you are going to eat animal protein that it should be pasture raised and in smaller portions. Again, excessive protein can turn into sugar, which can also stimulate the fuel for cancer. And so I say no more than the palm size of the hand, not even the whole palm size, but 3/4 of that size. And to think of it no more than once a day would probably be a good idea if you are consuming meat, or maybe twice a week, as I said, depending on how your desire is. Now, the other thing is we want to load our plate with as much alkaline, low sugar foods as possible. But again, it still turns into sugar. So we want to say the bitter, better foods are always going to be more beneficial for you. So if I have a plate and it's got 3/4 of my plate filled with a nice, beautiful salad, raw, enzyme oriented, with some steamed vegetables so we can break the cell wall down so the digestive system can utilize it a little bit better. So I've got 1.5 cups of broccoli, a nice, beautiful salad. And if I am having animal protein, then a nice small piece of fish or chicken, turkey, things of that nature. Or if I'm doing vegetarian, maybe some marinated garbanzo beans and some hemp seeds and pine nuts or sunflower seeds, so that I can have that sense of satiety and density, but I'm still not going over the carbs. So when I teach my patients not only what turns into carbs and how much they can have in regards of according to their treatment protocol, then it's an easy choice. So again, the body doesn't distinguish between a candy bar and a banana or a piece of bread. It's just how quickly it moves into the system, and is it going to be of value, or is it going to just be an overload that the body's just going to have to put in a fat cell to deal with it later on? And so we say, well, at this point, our goal is to say, if it doesn't bring us some sort of moving the needle in the right direction, we have to ask ourselves, why are we having these foods? Oh, it's emotionally based. I feel stressed. I'm reaching for this. Well, no amount of food is going to make you feel better in regards to meeting your own personal emotional needs. So we want to distinguish between I'm hungry, or I'm stressed, or I'm depressed in regards to the foods that we're reaching for. And this is one of the things that I teach my patients, is to recognize the signals that your body is giving you. So on a whole, let's say that a plant-based diet, more than not, is going to be more beneficial, more alkalinity, more enzyme-oriented, more water mineral-oriented, and then we supplement with the proteins, whether they're nuts and seeds or legumes, which are going to be vegetarian-oriented, or whether they're going to be some animal that's pasture-raised, and it doesn't have any kind of additional things injected into it, whether it's a turkey that's got, a butterball turkey with, things that really aren't of natural source. So if I can, pick it or chase it, it's going to be of a natural source. If it comes in a package, the first thing I do is tell my patients, packaged food, there are all these hidden things in there that you don't want to have, that the body won't even recognize, whether it's hydrogenated oils, fractionated, corn syrup, alcohol sugars. Alcohol sugars, we can get away with some of them, but maltitol raises the glucose levels too up. But sucralose, anything with the lose at the end, is really detrimental to the body, even if it says 0 added sugar. So I really want to educate our patients in regards to making right choices. So the science of food is really important. Now, at the same time, when it comes to fruits, everybody would say fruit is so healthy and so wonderful. And the thing about fruits, it metabolizes in the liver differently than, let's just say, a grain or a potato. And so it can convert very quickly this fructose into fats in the blood called triglycerides. So it's not that we could grab a banana and walk out the front door and expect to have balanced chemistry. We'll have just a shot of glucose into our bloodstream. Blood sugar will go up, go down, and then we'll start the whole craving cycle again, we don't want to be directed by our food. We want to think of food like a gasoline. We go fill up our car tank, we go for 3.5, 4 hours, and then we get a signal, light goes on, you're getting a little low, go to the kitchen, get some food. But what we want to do for our patients is not have you in digestive a whole day long, because how are you going to go into the rest modality to heal? So I have my patients either doing one of two things, either do some intermittent fasting. So from, let's just say 6 hours or 6 p.m. at night or 7 p.m. at night, stopping their last meal and then not eating again until 10, 11, 12, even 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So they have a longer period of time to utilize excess fats to make ketones to support the brain in energy and also the metabolism, but also to give themselves a break so they can use that energy for healing. That's my favorite time to do intermittent fasting. And then again, you're calorically restricting, so it's easier to get into using fat for fuel. Then after, and I tell patients that if they can't do intermittent fasting on nothing besides waters and teas, that they can have some fat. But I'm talking about fat, like let's just say, for example, I make myself tea, chai tea, and I put a tablespoon of coconut oil in there, or some cream. Cream doesn't have any protein or carbohydrates, it's a liquid butter. So if you do okay with butter, you can get away with that. And then I'll have that as some calories of fat, so it doesn't disrupt my ability to continue to use fat, because I have not stimulated insulin like I would if I ate protein or carbohydrates, which immediately shuts off my ability to use fat for fuel, because it's storing rather than using, okay? Now, the intermittent fasting allows me to use a secondary source of fuel. And then if I eat a meal, I'm under the influence with insulin for about a 3-hour period, so I'm not burning any fat and making ketones. So the next opportunity to go into ketosis or a semi-state of using fat for fuel would be in between my meals. So again, I don't want you to muscle through, I'm so hungry. It's just, again, take a handful of nuts, a couple of olives, a tablespoon of almond butter, a little bit of calories of good healthy fat to get me to my next meal. And then I'm able to have a capacity to use fats in between, as well as when I sleep at night. from about 10 to 2 o'clock when my body's repairing. This is why we do not want to have a snack before we go to bed. And again, if it's going to be anything, it's going to be a fat snack so that I don't disrupt the ability for my body to use fat for fuel. A lot of times I have my patients do circadian rhythm eating, meaning that they give themselves anywhere between a 4 and an 8-hour window of eating. So for myself, I don't eat until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I stop eating at 7 o'clock in the evening. And so I've given myself a good window. And that again also gives you an opportunity to go into a more secondary source of fuel and then less calories as well. So again, when we're talking about a diet, it's going to be one that is devoid of foods that are not real. Okay, if they're in a package, they have been processed. And I didn't pick it, or it's not fresh in nature, and it's certainly not going to be what we call seasonal. Organic is essential. Good water is essential because we have 3 times the amount of lymph fluid that water is supportive of that than we have blood. So again, drinking good healthy water, never tap water. And also making sure that we're not having excess amount of animal in our diet, especially eggs, because of the carnosine or the choline in eggs, especially with prostate cancer. We don't even really want our patients to have that. And then again, a moderate amount of protein, and then buffering that diet with a little bit more of good healthy fats. And so at the Center for New Medicine, we listen to our patient, we see what they are willing to do, knowing the capacity is far greater when they start to get results, they feel happy, and we start treating and creating balance with our patients, because food is joy and we never want to take that away. So you have a great day.